Hey everybody, this is the BS Podcast Network. I'm Ben Dorst.
Steven Dominguez.
At least this show is better than pure BS.
What?
What
are you? I'm Batman.
Who are you?
My name is
Bond.
I'm
Batman.
Name's Bond.
James Bond.
I'm Batman.
Bond.
James Bond.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
This is the Batman vs. James Bond show. The show covering everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. And now, here's your host, Brian Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. The name's Thomas, Brian Thomas, and I am your host. And this is the show where we discuss everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. It's great to be back. Oh yeah, we are full swing into November. Yeah, some things happen in November, but we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, I hope you all have had a fantastic week. Mine started off kind of slow, and now it's picking up, and I gotta say, I'm real excited about it. So, yeah, I'm actually getting ready to take a nice little extended weekend. It is going to be Veterans Day by the time that you hear this, give or take, or approaching Veterans Day. Yeah, nice little extended weekend, heading up to New York. So, I might go do some sightseeing up there with the wife. Trying to think of any spots that Bond has been up there to. Might not be the safest of all places, but we can all say, or we all know based on the books and in the movies that 007 has been up to New York, as the saying goes, 007 in New York. Batman has technically been in New York. If memory serves me correctly, The Dark Knight Rises was actually shot on Wall Street. So, I've definitely taken some pictures up there. It's not my first trip to New York, mind you, but I'm more thinking, I'm like, man, where has Bond and Batman been up there? Maybe, I might try to find some places. Maybe I can find where they hid the bat on that rooftop up there in Gotham City that magically no one was able to find. Anyway, just a reminder that the Batman vs. James Bond show can be found on the BS Podcast Network. That's bspodcastnetwork.com. You can find my show and a whole bunch of other great shows on there. Taking a break from YouTube this week, mainly because if you saw how I looked right about now, you'd be like, did he just get out of bed? Well, truthfully, no, I didn't just get out of bed. I've just been kind of bumming it out today, to be honest with you. I didn't not shaving at all. If I'm going to go up on video, of course we got to do the clean shave. And like I said, I'm trying to figure out some stuff with the YouTube, making sure, of course, that you guys are checking that out. It's kind of a test run. Maybe it'll work. Maybe I'll keep doing it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I mean, the main base of this has always been the podcast format. So you'll always continue to get that. There was never a question about that. It's just to see, okay, maybe YouTube can, add some benefits to the show. If I could right now, I'd show you that some stuff I got off, I bought from Magnolia Clothiers. I bought the Spectre blue polo in there without the button that Daniel Craig was wearing in the was it the Tangier scene in there? Yeah, I just got that. Needless to say, I need to work out to make sure that I really fit in that shirt. I even bought the Spectre not polo. It's the Spectre mock neck turtleneck. It's like the charcoal gray turtleneck, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, needless to say, I need to lose this gut, this holiday gut, as I'm calling it already. The food is already caught up. So, but you don't care about that, do you? You are here. We are here to talk about Batman and James Bond, and little behind the scenes thing, as they like to say. This was actually going to be a Casino Royale review episode, and yes, obviously it's not. I changed my mind a couple days in advance, and I'm thinking, hey, you know what? There's a lot of news going on right now that there were so many little news stories that broke in the last time that we had a news discussion. So I want to make sure we talk about that. There's also something going on today. It's here in the States, specifically, it is Election Day 2016. Now, before you turn off this podcast, I want you to know that we're not going to be talking about that kind of voting, if that makes sense. We are going to be talking about Decision 2016, Batman v. James Bond. Okay, so if you haven't been following me on social media, first of all, shame on you at Batman vs. Bond, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'm always posting on there pictures, all kinds of little comments and quotes on there all the time. I decided that, you know what, I was back and forth with this also, saying, hey, you know what, this is a Batman versus James Bond show. And sometimes when people have heard the title, the Batman versus James Bond show, they're like, oh, well, what could this be about? Is this is this about like a fictional series of, Batman versus James Bond? I mean, what does that title mean? Well, honestly, the title was just like, oh, hey, what would sound good together? The Batman versus James Bond show. Because, I always have thought these two have a lot in common, these two characters. But when I was thinking about it, I was like, hey, let's get our minds off everything that's going on the news right now. If you cast your vote, awesome. But in my mind, it's like, let's get away from that. It's like just why we go to the movies. Why do we go to Batman and James Bond movies? Because we'd like to get away from it all, right? We want to escape. So that's why I'm hopefully going to do for you here today. I'm going to help you escape, and we're going to determine something very important. It is Batman versus James Bond 2016. So I'm going to call it that instead. There was lots of decisions to make today. Especially on the Twitter polls. The Twitter polls are getting ready to close if they haven't closed already by the time that you're listening to this. It's pretty simple. I started off with Batman actors. Who's your favorite? It's going to be Keaton. Is it going to be Bale? Is it going to be Affleck? There was an extra one thrown in there last minute also. James Bond. Who was your favorite actor? Was it Timothy Dalton? Was it Lazenby? Was it Pierce Brosnan? Was it a couple other guys on there? And I got to say that, as always, you guys never cease to amaze me. I was kind of shocked about how not just who you decided on, but just how much of an upset it was, or just how much by a landslide that it won. It came very, very close on certain of these polls. So I want to start with that tonight before I go into the news, because I'm geeking out right now over this. I have been all day. So let's go into it. Let's start with the first poll that came out this morning, earlier today on Election Day 2016. We opened the polls with Batman and choosing your favorite Batman. And, as soon as I put this out there, probably everybody's thinking, well, it's pretty clear who this winner is going to be, because the other one just, he was okay, but it just wasn't, who we thought Batman could have been. And I totally agree with you. And actually, I was watching part of Batman Forever the other night, if you haven't figured out who I'm talking about. And I was like, he was pretty good, but he's always going to be Iceman from Top Gun in my mind. And, when it comes to the other guy, well, we all know that, I knew he was going to win. So let me get right to it. The first one was Batman, and the first Batman poll was Michael Keaton versus Val Kilmer. Needless to say, Michael Keaton won by a landslide. This is one of those landslide votes. 80% Michael Keaton won out of 20% to Val Kilmer. I'm sorry, Val Kilmer, but, the public has spoken, and you're not going to advance to the next round. What I'm going to do is alternate here for the Batman and James Bond fans. For the James Bond, when we opened the polls today, we opened it up, and this was actually a very hard one to come up with, because it was kind of back and forth from what I saw in the polls. Now I try to pay attention to this as much as I could today, in between that and work, of course. Yes, I do have a day job. I don't just geek out over Batman and James Bond. Technically, I do, but don't tell my boss. Anyway, it started off with Sean Connery versus Roger Moore. Now, Roger Moore will come up in our discussion later on in our news segment. But yeah, Sean Connery, I had a feeling Sean Connery would win. All due respect to Sir Roger, he played a great James Bond. We've talked many times when I did, I recently did the birthday episodes for both of these, and I can clearly say that, I would probably say Sean Connery would probably be my favorite out of these two. I think Sean Connery has some of my more favorite James Bond films. I'm going to throw Goldfinger in there. I'm going to throw Thunderball. With Roger Moore, The Spy Who Loved Me, it's one of my favorites. But when it edges out, I think that, if we're talking actors here who gave the better James Bond portrayal, I will say that I would see more Sean Connery. He was more cold. Roger Moore was just more easygoing. That's not as an insult. It's just that's what I kind of like in my mind, what I picture James Bond being. I like seeing him more kind of cold-blooded. He still has his little one-liners and stuff, but it's going to be Sean Sean Connery in that. And I brought in the soundboard tonight, so there we go. There we go. Sean Connery for the win, 67% to Roger Moore's 33%. So moving on here. This was where one of those where I don't even know why I posted it, but I was like, you know what, we have to do this. And, I cracked up laughing once I saw how badly this upset was. I mean, it wasn't just an upset. I think this would just be, oh man, how would I call this? I would call this the Jack Nicholson falling off the building in Batman 89 because it was just that bad. It just almost hurts so much, because if you think about how the Joker just, he was trying to get onto the helicopter, Batman attached the cable to him, and then he just fell off with the gargoyle on his leg, and it's just like, what a way to go. And well, unfortunately, in round 2 of the Batman polls, it was George Clooney versus Christian Bale. Needless to say that Christian Bale won undefeated. 100%. Yes, he won 100% out of, well, we'll just say that it was more votes than I can count on 2 hands. Some people were saying just say no to Clooney. Somebody even said who would cast this travesty. I will stick up for George Clooney in this, that I think that the material that he was given, I think actually he is a great actor. I do. I think the material that he was given was utter crap. Batman and Robin is, if anything, it can be a comedy. If you look at it that way, I would honestly, I'd probably have a few martinis and drink that, and maybe it would make the movie even more fun. Because the humor, the cheese factor is just way over the top. If you think about it, though, I will say that Clooney did play he does have those aspects of a good Bruce Wayne. I mean, because if you really look at the actual person, Clooney always had those Bruce Wayne aspects, like those traits. Thank you. He always had those traits. So I will say that, I'm sorry, George Clooney, but obviously you will not advance to this next round. So, let's keep it going here. Things got a little interesting here. I wasn't sure, I thought it was going to be a little bit closer because I know that some people, do favor this one actor a little bit more because they said he was more closer to the Ian Fleming James Bond. So we're looking at James Bond round 2 if you're keeping score at home. We are now at Pierce Brosnan versus Timothy Dalton. When I was saying about being closer to the Ian Fleming character from the books, I know Dalton, he was really cold, as a matter of fact. He had fun with it in The Living Daylights, but when it came to License to Kill, which I really thoroughly enjoy, I think that, he was that more of a cold-blooded, darker James Bond. But he, unfortunately, though, he had a short run with that. Pierce, we all know, if you haven't listened to this show, we will all say that GoldenEye is one of my top 3 favorite James Bond films, because it was actually the first one I watched. Not just because of that, because I still think it holds up to this time. People have said that Pierce, he started off great and then ended off really badly. Once again, I don't think it's Pierce's fault. I truly don't. I think, once again, it goes same idea with Clooney. It's the material that they're given. As an actor, I believe that, okay, you're getting a paycheck, and at the end of the day, okay, you get to reprise this role, and you can do as much as you can with it, but it's up to the writers, the producers, and the directors, because they're they have the final say with this. So, it ended up being Pierce Brosnan winning in at 71%. To Timothy Dalton's 29%. So there you go. Mark it off on your ballots. Pierce will advance to the next round. So had a little bit of fun with this next one because I'm like, well, we need somebody to go against this next Batman poll. And I'm like, okay, well, we know we have to have Ben Affleck in there because he's the only other one I have mentioned. And I could throw Adam West in there, okay? I thought about throwing Adam West in there. And for those of you that say, well, yeah, he was in a Batman movie. He was in Batman 1966, I believe it was called. I never saw that movie. I've watched some of the TV episodes before. No, not a knock on Adam West. I think it was a fun portrayal of Batman on there. But if we're talking about like the actual Batman movies, I even said, okay, well, wait a minute. There's another guy in here, and I always forget about him, which I shouldn't. He's really big in the animated universe, especially when it comes to the video games and the movies. And because I happen to see, a movie where he voiced Batman in Batman: The Killing Joke this year, and I'm like, I'm going to do a little write-in here. I'm going to throw in Kevin Conroy. And I was kind of hoping that, he would have more of a turnout. Not saying that he didn't get votes, because he did, but Affleck was the clear winner in this. Ben Affleck won at 69% to Kevin Conroy's 31%. Now, I will say this about Ben Affleck. Everything that I saw of him in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, I've said before that I think he did a great Batman. I really, really liked his Bruce Wayne. It was a darker portrayal that we've never seen before, because you have a Batman, or you have a Bruce Wayne. First of all, Bruce Wayne that wakes up in the morning, takes some pills, takes a sip of wine, and is just, he kind of even went unshaven and stuff like that. How Alfred in there even said, new rules. And Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne said, we've always been criminals. But the new thing is that he's killing in there. And, despite the fact, what people will say, Batman has killed before. We won't get into that discussion tonight. But I will say that, he played it. He just, everything down to his voice, to his costume. I really like it. And the more I watch him, the more I really, he's really growing on me as Batman. I need to see more of him, though. I mean, I want to see more of him. I think we all do. I think we all can agree that he shut the critics up. And we want to see more. So hopefully we'll get that next Batman movie soon. So let's move on to the next round of James Bond actors. So now, this one was, this one, it wasn't a surprise to me. It was just a matter of how many votes would this underdog get. The underdog I'm talking about here is George Lazenby. And the reason I say that he's an underdog with respect to George Lazenby is because he had only one James Bond. He had On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which some will say was one of the best Bond films ever. And actually, that's how I posted this on my Twitter feed, saying you have two James Bond actors that were probably in two of the best James Bond films. So is it going to be George Lazenby, or is it going to be Daniel Craig? Now, when I was saying Daniel Craig, I'm referring more to Casino Royale. I think more people were a fan of that. And that's a tough vote right there. It truly is. But I think if we're just talking actors here, we're probably comparing apples to oranges, with all due respect. I think it's obviously Daniel Craig just he can act. Lazenby was never quite the actor, but it was able to work with the material that they gave him. I think that the supporting cast helped him get through, or more with that movie. I think that, if Lazenby would have had a chance to return and say like Diamonds Are Forever, then maybe he would have gotten more votes. Maybe we could have seen, him have that revenge. We can always say the what if factor. We can always say that, but I think we can all agree that Daniel Craig is the leader in that. So yeah, let's keep moving on here. Now, this is where things really started getting interesting, and that's exactly how I posted it here. So, mind you, we are now on to the next round of Batman actors. So, this one was, it's posted all over social media. It's posted on Twitter. It's posted on Instagram, Facebook, whatever have you. I encourage everybody when I do polls, please vote on Twitter. That way we can make sure that we count your vote. I sound like I'm, doing like a real election night here, but it was a very close contest. Actually, I will give away who I think was probably the better Batman. I will say that it was probably Keaton. I still come back to him after watching his movies. I know that I do love Christian Bale's Batman. I truly love his Batman. I'm more like the Batman from Batman Begins than the one from The Dark Knight, if that makes any sense to you. Maybe it's not just because of the voice. I don't know. It's maybe because we didn't get enough Batman in there. The Joker kind of overshadowed, and needless to say, that's another story for another day. But I would have thought that Michael Keaton would have won this, but it ended up being Christian Bale in the upset of 53% to 47% at Michael Keaton. Now, I know Instagram, you guys were voting a lot on there. I did see those votes, and for a while this was at 50 to 50, till probably, I think, about only a couple hours ago. As a matter of fact, before I started recording this episode, I'm like, please, somebody just do the swing vote. I don't care. I can't vote for my own Twitter poll here, so just somebody do it. Somebody obviously did, so it just came in last minute. So Christian Bale is the winner there. I think we can all agree, though, as we're talking about these, that what's great is what's interesting too at the same time is that we have all these different actors that have played the same type of character. They've played James Bond, but they've made it their own. They have their own variations on this. And, as a fan, that's great because we keep getting these. It just shows you that the test, or Batman and James Bond have or they're holding the test of time, however that's phrased. Their characters will continue to live on. The movies will either be awesome, sometimes we might be upset by them, but we always have the classics, or what we consider now classics, whether it's going to be Batman 89 or our Goldfingers, our On Her Majesty's Secret Service, our Casino Royales, what have you. And that's the great thing. So, and hope maybe one day we'll get something even better than those. Who knows? We'll see what the writers, producers, and directors end up cooking up for us. So, in the meantime, we will continue to see what the polls have to say. So, the polls were starting to get crowded this afternoon, and we're on to the next James Bond round here. It is Pierce Brosnan versus Daniel Craig. Yeah. This was we all know that I love Pierce Brosnan's GoldenEye. Okay, I truly, truly love that. But when it comes to Daniel Craig, new guy on the site, when he came in, I'm like, well, he doesn't look like James Bond. I was just like all of you, but I was willing to give him a chance. I was like, okay, well, at least I have my Pierce Brosnan movies. I still have my Sean Connery. I have my Roger Moore. But Pierce always had that image, that he always had the look, that I don't know how I can phrase it. I guess that suave look, that that the brunette hair, just how the cut of his suits and stuff like that. But then you have Daniel Craig come in, and it's like, oh, okay, Pierce who? No, I'm just kidding. No, I will never forget Pierce. Absolutely not. But I think once again we can all agree that Daniel Craig just created his own James Bond. The material he was given also helped too, and the fact that he is a great actor. I truly think he is. The emotions that he brought to this. So Daniel Craig did end up winning versus Pierce Brosnan at 67% to 33%. Go Daniel Craig. Pierce, I'm sorry, buddy, you're out of this one. We have to move on here. Okay, we have to continue now. We will move on to the next Batman voting poll. So it's time to choose. It became time to choose your favorite Batman. Like I said, when I'm doing this, the polls, they're pretty much closing anyway, at least for this show they are, because of when I'm recording. I will say that I am kind of surprised about who ended up winning this one. It ended up being Christian Bale's Batman versus Ben Affleck. Now, and my question, I guess, is for you, for all of you, to answer me this is, everybody complains about Christian Bale's Batman voice, but everybody, I think we can all agree that Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne is, probably one of the best Bruce Wayne portrayals we've ever had. The emotions, once again, I know I keep saying emotions, but that's something I specifically look for when I'm looking at these characters now. You don't always have to have emotions, like, Keaton had emotions and stuff like that. Even Sean Connery, maybe Connery didn't so much. Roger Moore, Pierce did a little bit. But when you're looking at this, even Affleck, I think everybody could agree that, and this has been a long feud for now since Batman v Superman came out in March. It's like, oh, well, Affleck's the better Batman. Bale sucks or something like that. And everybody complains about Bale's voice or Affleck, because Affleck just, I don't know, he's too jacked. I have no idea. I'm just making stuff up now. But, yeah, I'm very surprised about how much that Christian Bale ended up winning. He won at 75% to 25%. So go Christian Bale. Gotta say that, once again, surprised. You guys cease to amaze me. But I think the crowd has spoken. Christian Bale's Batman is the winner of all the Batmans for 2016. When we have the next election, I guess, so if I'm still doing this, which hopefully I am, that maybe things will change, because by that time, maybe we'll have another Ben Affleck Batman movie. That's another thinking, is that, maybe the backlash to Batman v Superman, those who didn't like it or those who didn't care to see it, maybe that's why Christian Bale is still, maybe he's still kind of fresh in everybody's minds, but, hey, who knows, guys? We'll see. So let's move on here. So now, yes, you heard it right. It is time to choose your favorite James Bond. As I said, the coolest, suavest, and king of martinis. Is it going to be Sean Connery or Daniel Craig? This one, wow, this is a very close one. I'm going to have to close up the polls for this, and not just because we have a winner. It's because that, of when I'm recording this, but I will say, I will rule it right now. The winner of the coolest, suavest James Bond and king of martinis is Daniel Craig at 54% to Sean Connery at 46%. yeah, maybe let me ask you guys this also, and well, I'll even kind of try to answer it too. Is it because, and you guys keep picking like the newer actors? Is it because of the generation? Is it because Daniel Craig's so fresh in our mind? Just because he is currently still James Bond? Is it because the movies? Is it because Casino Royale and Skyfall they were just that good? I mean, that's not a knock to Sean Connery. Sean Connery will forever be James Bond. He will be maybe the James Bond. I've heard lots of people say, well, Connery was awesome. He was dark, but Dick Craig has something about him. And, once again, there you have it, an actor who, just people didn't want. But, when Casino Royale came, hey, my name. Yeah. So, and look for that review in a couple weeks there. There you go. I have a shameless plug in there. So, it's going to be Daniel Craig as the winner for that. So now, the decision has come, the time has come to make the final choice for this year's election. The decision that matters the most is, who will it be, Batman or James Bond? Who will you guys pick? Remind you again, it is Batman. The Batman that was decided by you, the listeners, was Christian Bale's Batman. Okay, we're talking Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises. Or is it going to be James Bond 007, Daniel Craig? And it's Daniel Craig's James Bond from Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, if you choose to ignore it, that's okay. Skyfall and Spectre. And the winner, and I have a special sound effect just for this that brought in on loan. The winner of the Decision 2016, Batman v. James Bond 2016 is James Bond 007 Daniel Craig. There you go, 67%. Wow. To Batman Christian Bale's 33%. Wow. How about that? I would have never thought that. Even with doing this podcast and stuff like that, I would think, okay, well, Batman is just, you hear Batman, and don't get me wrong, that is not a knock to James Bond at all. It's just that the character of Batman is, I would say, more well-liked maybe. A lot more people, they look at him as, he's a superhero. He doesn't have any superpowers. He's been around in the movies for, maybe not as long as James Bond, but he has been in the comic books for longer. He's celebrating over 75 years, as a matter of fact. But the movie, I guess maybe it's the amount of movies that we've had. James Bond has been around since 1962, at least in the cinema. And there's been at least 6 different actors so far that have portrayed this character. But I don't know. You guys have to let me know. Let me know at Batman versus Bond, as a matter of fact. Give me your reason why you feel, or why you chose Daniel Craig over Christian Bale. I'm dying to know what this is right now. Trust me, I really like what I'm seeing. It's just the fact that so many people chose Daniel Craig over Christian Bale's Batman. Or maybe it's because I expected Batman to win over James Bond. This is a night for, I don't know what to call it, upsets, but this is kind of a shocker to me. So, there you have it. That is the end of my Decision 2016. We will be having another one eventually. I hope you guys did enjoy that little part that I had there, but let's move into some news. All right. So our first news story that we're going to start with this week, it's actually a trailer that came out. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th trailer that came out for this movie. It is, and he's so tiny that I always forget to talk about him. No, that's a little pun right there. Yes, it is the Lego Batman movie. Yeah, I always forget about this, and I don't know why, because it's not because he's tiny, and that's because he's yellow at all. Actually, Black and Yellow. That's a great song. I love how they use that. I'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, we always forget, I guess, or at least I always forget. Oh yeah, we have so many different Batman movies out there now. We have the animated. Now we have I guess you can say Lego Batman, or the Lego movies are animated to a point anyway. I'd be very interested to see if they are, according to the Academy Awards, the Lego movie wasn't an animated movie. That's another discussion for another show even. But, the fact is that even the Lego movie, Batman was in there, and I think that not just because I'm a Batman fan, I think that a lot of people even agreed that he stole the show. It's Will Arnett who's voicing him in there. When I see these trailers, and I like I said, I'm like, oh yeah, we get Lego Batman next February. That'd be like, or January, February. I'm like, that's really, I'm getting excited for this. As a matter of fact, I'm like a little kid again. I'm like, Legos, all that crap that I got from my parents about playing with Legos, and here we are about like 30 years later, and it's cool to like Legos, and I can still, at my age, go see a Lego movie. Anybody can go see this, of course, but I don't have to be, I can wear my Batman shirt in there, and I can just enjoy the Legos and Batman, two of my favorite things. So let's get into the trailer here. It did start with the song "Black and Yellow." It's the song that's been on for the last couple trailers. It's actually kind of it is so fitting for these movies, or for this trailer for this movie. It just kind of it's kind of making, I don't want to say making fun of the Batman character, but it's putting a really interesting spin, something that they could never do in the regular actual live action series. I don't think you would ever see that. If anything, it would be more of a spoof movie. This isn't a spoof, but it's just saying, okay, if it starts off at the beginning, Batman is probably going home to celebrate with models and stuff like that, and it's like he just saved the world, and it's like, it's great to be Batman, and then he flies off to the cave, and it's like, computer, I'm home, and then it echoes, and then it goes into the song "One Is the Loneliest Number." Really great song, by the way. And it kind of just shows him just swimming in the back cave. Dolphin jumps up. He's just eating some food, channel surfing on his HD TV, and he's just by himself. He is all by himself, as a matter of fact. So fitting is that song. And then all of a sudden you have Alfred, who's voiced by somebody who's also been in a James Bond movie, Ralph Fiennes. He's kind of like, I guess I would say he's explaining what he's like, Master Bruce, you need to get back to spending time with your family. There's you can't just spend it all by yourself. You can't spend it all by yourself and stuff like that. You can't just be alone this whole time. And then he suggests spending time with his newly adopted son. And who does his son end up being? Well, it ends up being Robin. Yeah, it's voiced by Michael Cera. And then they're already making fun of Robin with this, which I absolutely love. I mean, if I haven't said it on here before, clearly the Robin character isn't quite my favorite. I like the fact that Batman usually works alone. It's okay if he has a little bit of help from time to time, but the Robin in the tight shorts, not my thing. But if they do it, I'm not saying that when I saw Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, when they showed Robin his costume, in the Batcave, spoiler alert, I can't say I wasn't cheering for that, but I was like, okay, well, at least we don't have to worry about Robin just yet. I want more focus on Batman. I want more focus on that character. So that's my reasoning for that. But how they're doing this, they're just making Robin just like, oh, it's the Batcave, it's the Batmobile, it's the Bat Submarine, and he's entering the Batcave, and then all of a sudden he's choosing a costume, and then he's like, these pants are too tight, and then he rips the pants off, and Batman's like, oh my God, like that. And the Will Arnett Batman voice, I'm like, yes, I love this. And they're making fun of it, and at the same time, I'm like, this is like, I'm already loving this. It's just like, shut up and take my money right now. So what's going, and then all of a sudden it goes into the song, we built this city, and what it's talking about it's so fitting for, once again, for the Lego movie. Whoever cut this trailer and put the songs in this, I want to go buy them a nice steak dinner and a martini. They say, they have a nice little Easter egg in there of Batman versus Superman, and just like kind of like the whole Dawn of Justice fight. And I was like, yes. And Batman, the Joker kind of comes in. He's voiced by, what's his name? Oh, it escapes me right now. It's he was in The Hangover. Oh, yeah, you're probably saying it right now to me, and it'll come back to me. Zach Galifianakis. Yes, there you go. He's saying, just saying that, hey, Batman, I'm your greatest villain. And he's like, no, my greatest villain is Superman. He's like, Superman's not a villain. And then they show the little clip of Batman versus Superman. He's like, well, I'm currently in between villains. And then they show Joker whimpering, and he's like crying. It's like the sad face, which you've never seen Joker do. It's like, oh, you hurt his feelings. You hurt Joker's feeling. It's so funny. And they continue on with this, and it shows that Barbara Gordon now, I like that they showed the character of Barbara Gordon, but instead of being Batgirl, they're actually having her be the new police commissioner, and they kind of show like a conference in a way, and they show Batman on screen, and it's like Bruce Wayne is actually attending this, and what they show is Barbara Gordon saying, we want to join forces with Batman. They show Batman in a police uniform. He's like, oh my God, like that again, something like that. I can't believe this. And he's so mad. And, it just, that kind of it still hasn't even given us too much of the story. I mean, the way if I'm summarizing this right now, I don't have the synopsis in front of me, but I will say that this movie is just going to be it does raise some interesting points because you have Batman. You would think, okay, well, what would Batman do after he saved the world? Well, he goes home and chills in the Batcave, but does he, is he with the supermodels? In this case, he's not. He's actually just by himself, and it's just, Batman might be a little lonely, and that raises some interesting, questions there, I guess you could say, or just some interesting points. Something I guess we've never really thought about. At least something you can't do, like I said, in the live action universe. I like that, what they're doing with Robin. I like how they brought Barbara Gordon in there. I like how they have Alfred being still Alfred in this. They have the Joker in there. I'm kind of interested. Well, I'm not surprised, I guess, but it's kind of interesting that they did bring in the Joker this soon into this Batman universe. But I'm sure that if this ends up doing as well as it looks, that that they're not going to just do without that Joker. I think this might be just like the very beginning. They're gonna throw the Joker in there. I don't know how much screen time he will get. Hopefully more than Jared Leto's. Too soon? Yeah. I think it's going to be more the focus on just Batman and the relationship that he has with Robin and, the Commissioner or the new Commissioner Gordon, and that kind of, that's just theories right now. I like at the very ending, they say, let's go defeat the Joker. And, Batman's like, oh, it's too bad that you're not wearing your costume, Robin. He's like, I'm wearing my costume underneath. Whoosh! And then rips his pants off and throws it on Alfred. I was like, yes, this is great. So, needless to say, let me know what you thought of the new trailer for the Lego Batman movie. Like I said, I know I keep forgetting this, and I'm gonna actually, mark my words, I will stop forgetting about this. I will be doing more posts about Lego Batman. Let me know on the Twitter sphere, what do you think about the new Lego Batman movie trailer? Did you like it? Did you love it? Are you excited about this? Or you just don't care? You just want to see live action Batman movies? In my mind, folks, the more Batman, the merrier. So let's talk a little bit about the live action Batman. So yeah, this was an interesting story, and I know I'm using interesting here. That's probably not the best word, but I will say this kind of got me a little worried. Now, mind you, what I'm talking about here is a rumor. It is strictly a rumor, but it's something. It's definitely a news story that I thought was worth bringing to the show. It happened this week, or over the weekend. There was a news story that leaked saying Ben Affleck's Batman script has issues, and I'm like, what? I was like, are we talking about the same Batman movie here? Ben Affleck Batman movie? I mean, Oscar-winning director, and he's Oscar winner. Two-time Oscar winner, for writing and for producing Argo. I will say that I've covered stories on here before saying, well, he's still working on the script, and he wants to get it right. He has some ideas. It's going to be right now. What last we heard, it's going to be Batman versus Deadshot. Oh, I'm sorry, Deathstroke. Excuse me. We just had Deadshot in Suicide Squad. There's too many of those. Deathstroke will be the main villain in the new Batman movie, and we heard that it could start filming in as soon as spring of next year. And then we've heard also that Ben Affleck has said, well, hold off, because I don't even know if I want to call it the Batman. I want to get the script right, because if I don't get the script right, then it's the end for me almost. So this past weekend, there was this guy, and his name's Brett Ellis, and he was, if memory serves me correctly, the writer of American Psycho, and he was doing an interview with The Ringer, and he said that he had this conversation reportedly with a couple executives, and they were voicing their concerns about the new Ben Affleck Batman movie. And they were saying that, the executives have warned that the Batman script is, as they quoted, subpar. They don't want to fix it because international audiences will see the movie anyway, and so forth. So I posted this on social media because I was like, okay, first of all, treat it as a rumor because nothing's been confirmed. This could be just hearsay. It could be, who knows what it could be. People took it very seriously. You know, it is what it is, folks. Like I said, it's a rumor. Okay. So just because, you know, we've heard rumors before about, we heard rumors about Suicide Squad. We've heard rumors about Batman v Superman. Did they turn out being true? Yes. But it doesn't mean that it's not always, you know, take it with a grain of salt, okay? Until it's confirmed. This was, you know, confirmed by multiple sources, don't get me wrong. But just because it's like saying that I heard from a guy who heard it from a guy. You know, I was at a dinner table, I heard it like a couple tables down and so forth. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not too worried yet. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, what if this is true? Let's just say that, you know, there's, you know, the Batman executives are saying that Ben Affleck's script is just, okay, well, you know, we've heard, like I said, that Ben Affleck was still working with it and didn't want to release it or go to it until it's right. So if that happened, I mean, I don't know, because what is the purpose of a movie studio? What is their main goal? To, you know, have franchises to make money, right? Okay, well, in all things considered, yeah, they want to make money, but they also want to put out a good movie. We would like to think so, anyway. Now we've seen right now with DC, the DC universe, the DCEU, that, you know, this year was a tough year, at least for those two movies, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and Suicide Squad. It was a very tough year for that. You know, it didn't work out as well especially for Batman v Superman because there was backlash. People thought it was too dark. They thought there was plot holes in there. There was all kinds of things. Suicide Squad got, you know, ripped up because, you know, apparently it looked like it was two different movies. There was a darker one and there was a more colorful movie in there. You know, so when I hear this, I'm like, well, I thought Jeff Johns was brought in. Well, we know Jeff Johns was brought in and to revitalize this and to be like, okay, I'm the one calling the shots. I'm the one who's going to be taking care of this. So, for them to just say that, it's like, well, there's a lot riding on this Batman movie, and not just this Batman movie, but any DCEU film right now, because they, like we've said before on here, you know, oh, we have to catch up to the other guy, and, you know, we have to, you know, and I've always said, you don't have to catch up to anybody. You make one good Batman movie, you make one good even James Bond movie, and that will be remembered. We've seen that time has shown that if you make just one good movie and you focus on that movie and you make it to the best of your ability, that will be remembered. If you make something that's you know, just kind of half-assed, for lack of a better terms, then yeah, it will be remembered, but not in the way you want it. It will go down as being possibly another Batman or Robin, you know, and we know what that's thought of as. And I'm sure Ben Affleck is thinking that right now as he's writing the script. Like I said, this is only my thoughts, okay? That's why I have the show, is just so I can, you know, voice that opinion, and just, you know, I of course want your feedback as well. So later on, Ellis ended up posting kind of like a sort of apology online. He said he was sharing a conversation he'd had as an example of the larger impact international audiences have on domestic films, and that he didn't know his comments about Batman would be taken as news by themselves. He added that he regrets bringing up Batman during his interview, and that he doesn't want to sound as if he's disparaging the movie. To that I say, okay, maybe he's backpedaling right now, but who is this guy? I really don't know. I mean, like I said, he's the writer of American Psycho. He could be anybody right now. Until, you know, we find out more. If more rumors like this start to happen, then I'll really, you know, be even more concerned. Right now, it's just, okay, well, that's just, it's whatever. Right now, let's just hope that Ben Affleck is spending a lot of time right now working on that Batman script and getting it done. You know, and we get one great Batman movie. That's all I ask for. If we can get this, if we get Ben Affleck's Batman from Batman v Superman, his Bruce Wayne, Jeremy Irons' new Alfred, I think that, you know, that's more than enough. And now you have Joe Manganiello, you have his Deathstroke in there. Oh, I think that it's just all the right aspect, or all the right pieces are there that I think they can make this come together, or at least I'm hoping anyway. So let's move on to my last thing of Batman news here. This one I just wanted to share with you guys. I did share my wife did share this with me. She actually does contribute to the show once in a while anyway. she posted or she shared this article with me where it said Jared Leto's Joker is 100% cooler than Heath Ledger. And to that, my jaw just dropped. I'm like, what? So there was this article on Dipley.com, and they released this article explaining why they think Leto's Joker was more superior. Quote is saying, his grills give him more street cred. His threads are so badass. His tattoos. He runs a nightclub. He's great at arranging weapons, like when he was laying down in that one scene when he just lays in, I guess what I would imagine is his house or his mansion, who knows, with all the weapons, like the knives and the guns surrounded around him and stuff. We saw that a lot in the trailers and in the movie for Suicide Squad. So let's get to the big question here, though. Do you think Jared Leto's Joker is 100% cooler than Heath Ledger? With all due respect to Jared Leto, he put an interesting spin on the Joker. And yes, his part was very much cut, as he went on record saying, it just... there was way more. There was at least another half hour of footage, maybe, or even more of the Joker that we probably might not even get to see. Maybe we'll get to see a few more minutes in the extended cut. Even so, though, Heath Ledger, guys, that Joker is just another chance when I have more time to talk about this. I will, but I will say that there's no way that just because of the tattoos and all this stuff on there. I mean, with all due respect to the writer of this article, I will say that Heath Ledger's Joker is almost now the iconic Joker. Okay, Jack Nicholson's Joker still goes down as one of the great Jokers. Mark Hamill's Joker, it will go down as one of the best Jokers. Jared Leto's right now for me is probably one of the lower ones. I will say that. I almost feel, and the more I was thinking, and I'm like, I know that he had some pretty big shoes to fill, but I almost feel like he was almost trying too hard, or maybe he was overdoing it in a way. I kind of feel that way. I don't know if that's the material. I know just how he took it seriously. I mean, I know he took it very seriously. I know he's also an Oscar winner too. But at the same time, I'm just like, no, Heath Ledger, I mean, go back and watch The Dark Knight. If for you James Bond fans, if you've never watched The Dark Knight, go watch that. And that is your classic, iconic, one of the most iconic villains ever. I will go on record also saying that Heath Ledger's Joker is even far superior than Darth Vader from Star Wars. There, I said it, mic drop. So let's move on here. There's a couple articles that came out for James Bond. One, they were saying, are you curious who Ian Fleming's first choice for James Bond was? Now, this goes more for you history buffs out there. Granted, I wasn't alive when this happened, but I'm always fascinated by this kind of stuff. Originally, just kind of like a little trivia here, Cary Grant was the first actor to be asked to play James Bond, but he ended up turning it down. Their second choice was James Mason, but he was not a fan of the Bond books. However, Ian Fleming had his first choice for the role, and it's actually a familiar name. His first choice to be James Bond was, strangely enough, Roger Moore. How about that? So in this article, it said that how Roger Moore was 34 years at the time, and he had not actually, received any worldwide celebrity, aside from, I guess he was in the TV show The Saint at the time. Producer Cubby Broccoli didn't want Roger Moore at the time, but he did like him. But obviously they went on to go with Sean Connery, and go figure that 12 years later that Roger Moore would end up playing James Bond in Live and Let Die. However, Ian Fleming, he passed away in 1964, and he never had a chance to see this. But I'm sure if he was looking down, he's like, "Hey, my guy Roger Moore ended up playing James Bond, so good for him." So I always thought it was a fascinating story. Anyway, and now we move into about how, we're still debating, there's still all these rumors, and it's been going on a year since I started this podcast about, who is going to be the next James Bond. Well, Sir Roger has actually weighed in and kind of, he's been doing some interviews because he's been doing doing this show at the theater where he talks about his life and his career. There's actually one at Southport Theater on November 22nd. He's going to do a chat on stage with biographer Gareth Owen about his life and his career. It gives a opportunity for members of the audience to put their own questions live to Sir Roger, which I really would, I would love to go see that. Unfortunately, it's out of my location, out of my budget right now. But, He was asked, though, recently about who he thinks should play the next James Bond. He said he thinks Aidan Turner, who plays Poldark, name we've heard before, would make a very good James Bond. He said Tom Hiddleston would do a very good job as well. It's who you're watching at the moment. I think there are a lot of great actors around. I was fortunate in my day when I got the role. So there you have it. Like I said, I guess I need to go back and watch what this Poldark is and look at this Aidan Turner guy. And I've seen stuff from Tom Hiddleston. I've said that before. I'm not sure if I see him as James Bond, but one I know we can now roll out in the James Bond running is Michael Fassbender. Yes, Michael Fassbender has been on that long list for quite some time now. He has actually ruled himself out of becoming the next James Bond. He was recently asked in GQ magazine if he would be up for the part. He said, to be honest, no. He said he thought the franchise needed a shakeup. He almost said that he thinks that somebody, younger should be playing James Bond, like the star from Unbroken, Jack O'Connell, another name I'm unfamiliar with. He also said a woman could take on the role, something new. But he did say he was a big fan of James Bond and spent a lot of time thinking about his future plans. So there you have it. You can close Michael Fassbender. You can scratch him off your list. Right now, who knows? I still say that I think Daniel Craig might, after that interview in New York, I think Daniel Craig will come back for at least one more, but time is ticking, so we will see. So let's move into birthdays and anniversaries here, folks. Yes, catching up on some birthdays this week. We haven't had the birthdays in a couple weeks, so here we go. Lonnie Hall, who performed the theme song for Never Say Never Again, a Bond movie that is, I would call it the forgotten Bond, the Bond that some people don't like to talk about. From time to time, I'll mention it, but I figure, it's worth mentioning. She celebrated a birthday, on November 1st. The Never Say Never Again theme is actually a really good, James Bond theme. It's not my favorite, but I will say that it's on my playlist, and if it comes on, I do like it. It has that Never say never again. And it's really bad. I know I shouldn't quit my day job. Believe me, I won't. But it does, how they fit it in. They didn't, for those of you that haven't seen Never Say Never Again, I won't spoil for you, but I will say that it was produced outside of Ian Productions, with what was going on at the time with securing the rights for Spectre with Kevin McClory. Kevin McClory went off and did his own remake of Thunderball. While it didn't have a gun barrel, it faded into Lonnie Hall's Never Say Never Again theme, and it actually does work. I could possibly have seen it if this was actually with Ian Productions. I could have seen this Bond theme song, going into the after the pre-title sequence, definitely. And I did like it. So, there it is. Katie Lang celebrated her birthday November 2nd. She performed the end song, the end credits song for Tomorrow Never Dies, Surrender, and did have Tomorrow Never Dies in there. It was written by David Arnold in there, and that a lot of people, and I will agree with this, that it sounded like it would have been a better theme song than Sheryl Crow's theme song for Tomorrow Never Dies. There's something I've always liked about theme songs, especially for the James Bond movies, is that when you have that specific theme of that theme song, with Tomorrow Never Dies, it has these horns. It goes da-na-na-na-na-na-na, and then it goes like that. And we heard that throughout because David Arnold, did the whole score for that. So when he did this song for Surrender with Katie Lang, it did that da-na-na-na-na-na-na, and it did that throughout it. And I was like, oh man, that would have been really good, because that would kind of go with that John Barry, of how he used to write the theme song, and then that theme song would play throughout the whole Bond movie, but it was kind of reversed. You didn't hear any of Sheryl Crow's. You didn't hear any of Sheryl Crow's theme song at all throughout that, aside from having a slight Bond guitar riff in there. But yeah, no, it's actually a very, very good song, a very underrated song. So definitely check that out. I guess it's the month of birthdays for lead singers here for theme songs. Lulu, who celebrated a birthday on November 3rd, who performed The Man with the Golden Gun. Now, this is a classic example of how John Barry came back for the Roger Moore era. He put more of a rock spin than he did. I guess he was trying to follow up with what Sir Paul McCartney did with his Bond theme song for Live and Let Die. And with this song for The Man with the Golden Gun, this theme, it's really upbeat. It goes dun, 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 something like that. And just listen to the song. Just go listen to it on Amazon or iTunes. Trust me, it sounds a whole lot better than what I'm doing right now. But with The Man with the Golden Gun, Barry did that. That's what Barry was. Barry wrote some of the best Bond scores ever, needless to say. But what I loved with John Barry, is that how he fit his main theme song in throughout the movie. So the one that sticks in my mind right now is when Bond is chasing Scaramanga, doing the car chase, and he's trying to get with him and Nick Nack, and he has J.W. Pepper in there. It has the James Bond theme, but it also has the Man with the Golden Gun theme. It's kind of like a versus kind of a theme songs in there, and I really, really like that. So, definitely a good one. And I really like the version that they did at the very end of the Man with the Golden Gun. He did. It was still Lulu, the Man with the Golden Gun, but he did after he just tied up Nick Nack to the top of the sailboat, and it does "Good Night, Good Night." It's a hard version to find, but if you are able to find it, I think you can go listen to it on YouTube. Somebody has cut it, I'm sure, of just that song. So definitely one to check out. Birthdays here. Also moving on, it's more Bond girls. This one is Famke Janssen. She celebrated a birthday on November 5th. And she played Xenia Onatopp in GoldenEye. Onatopp. Oh, Xenia Onatopp. Oh, yes. How I love thee. What a bad girl she is, but in so many good ways. Yeah, she is one very, very, very bad girl. I guess I would say because her interesting spin of being a villainess in a Bond movie is that she would be able to. Oh, how do I say this? She would be able to squeeze the living... see what I did there. She would squeeze the living daylights out of her victims. And we'll kind of leave it at that. Go watch the movie. It's a PG-13. It's okay. But, she played... when Bond was resurrected, I would say resurrected in GoldenEye, and they had kind of a henchman. She's like, oh, well, this is not your typical henchman, but... and sometimes we forget about her, I guess, because everybody thinks Odd Job, Jaws, and whoever else. But don't ever leave Xenia Onatopp on there. I think she would be one of the greater villains out there. And I've posted on the villains episode before that, I just loved her character in there. The one that sticks out of my mind right now is that, of course, the spa scene, you don't need the gun commander. Well, that depends on your definition of safe sex. And, I really, really like those scenes. But anyway, so definitely go check that out. Christopher Wood. You might not know the name, but you know what he has written. He wrote The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker. He also celebrated a birthday on November 5th. Yeah, I would say the first one would probably be one of my more favorite Bond films, The Spy Who Loved Me. I said that earlier in the show. It's, it almost is, we'll call it what it is. It's almost a remake of You Only Live Twice, but it's still, I think it's the better version of that. Moonraker was very similar in that aspect of following up what they did with The Spy Who Loved Me, but I think, it's two great Bond movies, but I think, Spy Who Loved Me was obviously the clear winner with that, but definitely ones to check out if you haven't before. Alison Doody, she played Jenny Flex in A View to a Kill. She celebrates a birthday on November 11th coming up. You might have seen her before. If you are also a fan of the Indiana Jones franchise, you remember her in, I forget her name. She was in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Elsa, there you go. She was Elsa in there. And I saw Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade before I saw A View to a Kill. And then looking back now, it's like, oh, well, she's had ties to both. She's had ties to Bond in both movies, as a matter of fact, because obviously she was technically a Bond girl in A View to a Kill. She was like, I would call her like one of the henchmen of Max Zorn's in a way. I mean, you got to see a little bit of her, but not too much anyway. But then when looking at Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, though, Bond had ties to that also because you had her in there. She was actually the lead, and you can definitely make all the comparisons you want to Indiana Jones and James Bond. That'll be an upcoming versus, or maybe a whole episode we could devote just to that. That maybe I'll put that in the works there too. But Sean Connery was in there too, and he actually, shared some scenes with her also. I'm like, that's pretty cool. She's got to be on screen with two different James Bonds. You Sean Connery and Roger Moore. Not many people can say that, so definitely it's pretty cool. November 12th, Peter Lamont, the set designer for almost all of the sets of Bond, going all the way back up to Casino Royale. Last I checked, celebrated a birthday, or will celebrate a birthday on November 12th. He recently passed, but and I did talk about this also. Look back onto my archives for some earlier episodes where I did talk about this, but just to go on, the set designs that he did, ones that stick out of my mind are definitely The Spy Who Loved Me, just that ship design that he had in there, and the volcano from You Only Live Twice. Go back and watch those. Sometimes we forget about that because we're so focused on the action, but if it wasn't for somebody like him as a set designer, they're iconic. It's almost like being it's like an unsung character in a movie, if you will. So, happy birthday, sir. So that's the end of the birthdays. Let's move on to anniversaries here. Celebrating anniversaries this week are Spectre. Check out that Spectre review I have on there right now, available on Spreaker and iTunes. Celebrates a anniversary on November 6th. And celebrating an anniversary this week also on November 9th is Skyfall. 2 back-to-back Daniel Craig James Bond movies, 2 excellent James Bond movies, as a matter of fact. If you are a Batman fan, if you've not checked those out, please do so and check those out. So, let's move into the final segment of the show. It is time for Versus. This is the part of the show where we compare movies of the Batman and James Bond universe versus other ones, sometimes Batman, sometimes James Bond, sometimes other ones. We'll see. This last week's one was, last time we had talked, I believe, was Live and Let Die versus Spectre. Once again, in order to get your vote to count, you have to vote on Twitter. I mean, you can comment on Instagram, that's cool, but I think the best way to do it is on Twitter. Spectre did end up winning, beating out Live and Let Die. Like I said, both great Bond movies. It all depends on which kind you like. Do you like more of the serious? Do you like more of the kind of a little bit more humor in there, kind of, easygoing? Live and Let Die might be your cup of tea. Spectre might be. I don't know. So, I will say that Spectre is my favorite out of the two. Not just because it's recent, because I just think that I like more of the elements of Spectre. This week's versus will be Skyfall versus Spectre. Yeah, let's just do that this week because we have 2 Bond movies released in the same week. They were about about 4 years apart, but still, I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about this. I know what I will pick, and if you've listened to me long enough, you know which one I will pick, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I will save it for the next week's show. As a quick tease for next week's show, we'll have probably some news in there, but I have a very big surprise for you guys. It does involve, how do I say this? If you're into dressing like a certain character, and if you like fashion, if you just kind of like all those like little homages and stuff like that, I think you will enjoy next week's episode. So that's a quick little tease there. But that wraps it up for this episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. Yeah, we did it. Please subscribe on iTunes and or Spreaker, rated 5 stars. Leave a nice little review for me on there. The biggest thing that I ever ask of you guys is to please share this show. Once I post that episode, just share the show with your friends, share the show with the family member. I don't care who you share it with. Just, help me get some more listeners out there. I always appreciate that. Follow me on all the various social media networks, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Batman vs. Bond. Find the show on the BS Podcast Network. Also be sure to check out all the other great programming on there, including Pure BS Podcast, Science Fiction Podcast, and Horribly Awkward Podcast. Like James Bond, I will return. Until next time, I'm Brian Thomas. Thanks for listening, everybody, and have a great week, everyone. Peace out.